Running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans, welcome to Talking in Ovals. I'm Alex Cuesta. My partner in crime over there, Dave Hyatt's with me. What's going on, brother?
I got to say, we by far have the best New Jersey high school coaches on our show. We had 3 coaches that we have had on win sectional titles, and I'm pumped about it. I'm telling you, we are the good luck charm for anybody who wants to come on, any high school coach. You come on our show, you're going to win some state titles.
That's what I'm talking about. Before we get into all the other fun stuff, this is Monday, June 5th of 2023 that we are recording this show. If you like what you hear, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth and go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. Not hard. Just go there. You'll see our logo. So last week's show, we had a great show, Dave. We talked to the legendary Joe Compagni. He was the director over at Monmouth for 24 years, doing some really good work now over in New Jersey for Shore AC. So go back, give that episode a listen. We had a really good time talking to him. He's someone that both Dave and I got to know really well, being New Jersey runners over the years. So that was lots of fun. And like Dave mentioned, we had 3 of our former coaches that we had on the show go on to be sectional champions. First off, I got a humble brag. My alma mater, Manchester Township, went and not only won their section, Dave, it was in dominant fashion. 41 points. 41 points. And it was just, after day 1, it was 45. It was never really in question. And it was just a top to bottom effort. People like Mubarak, I'm going to butcher your last name. I'm not even going to try. Mubarak, you did great. Nick Lafredo did awesome. I can, Joe Kirk, I can go up and down with how many people did well. I am super proud of my alma mater. Coach Griff, you deserve a ton of credit. And that whole staff was fantastic. Another shout out to a Manchester athlete, Bella Palmiato on the girls' side. Second in the long jump, second in triple jump, took home the long jump sectional title. So really proud of her. And Westfield men's team won their section. New Jersey 2, Group 4, South Brunswick, state sectional champion, Central Jersey Group 4. That's Coach Tefelsky in Westfield, Coach Rivera and Nalvin from South Brunswick. All people we've had on the show. Dave, like you said, we're the good luck charm.
Listen, man, and I went to college with almost all of those guys over at Rutgers. Great guys. I'm just so happy for everyone that's involved, and I hope Manchester can keep it going in Group 2, and I'm really looking forward to the battle between Westfield and South Brunswick at Group 4.
Yeah, it's going to be great. But this week, we have another great show ahead of us. We have on someone who is doing something different that we always talk about on this show. How do we, expand the world? How do we, of track and field, get more casuals? This is someone that's thinking outside the box that I think is going to help do that. And I feel like we may want to work with in the future. He is Kirk Berridge, USA Track and Field Masters athlete and founder of Trackstar.me. What's going on, Kirk?
Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing, Alex and Dave?
Doing really, really well. I'm really looking forward to the conversation, having you on the show. I'm going to start off with the first section that we always do, our first segment, because most of the people we have on are runners, jumpers, track athletes in their own way. When did you get the spark that made you want to be a runner, be a track and field athlete?
Man, my dad turned me on to track and field in 1980. I grew up in Indiana. He took me to the Kokomo sectional and the Kokomo regional. I saw the hurdlers, the sprinters, the high jumpers, everybody. And that's kind of what formally did it. Even before then, when I was in elementary, I was in 5th grade then in 1980, but we had what was called Junior Olympics, like maybe 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And I remember having like a red ribbon, yellow ribbon, white ribbon. I don't even remember what the exact races were, maybe 50 meters, or we did yards back then. But that also helped. I did track and field in junior high in 7th and 8th grade. And the coolest thing about that is it was a no-cut sport, but the first 3 days of tryouts or practice or whatever, our coach, he had us do like an Olympics where every athlete had to do every event unless if you had a note from your mother or something. But that was his way of seeing who's good at what events. And it also exposed athletes to all the events to see maybe what you like. And so that was really cool. And then, I was a baseball player, and my sophomore year, JV baseball, I was an ace pitcher, man. I didn't get to pitch at all. And I only got to bat 3 times. And I was like, man, phooey on this. I'm going to reinvent myself, and I'm doing track. So I taught myself how to pole vault, was county champion my senior year, and got second in the conference. And then I walked on for track and field in college, and really I didn't get good at track until I was 20. And I was really a field events athlete, pole vault, high jump, triple jump, which became my best event, but we did not even have that event in high school in Indiana. And also long jump, if I didn't mention that, long jump, triple jump, high jump, pole vault. And I did make the 4x100 relay team. I made the B team, but my senior year, I made the A team, the relay team. So, and then I got like a half scholarship for my junior and senior year. So that kind of was my journey. And then I was out of track for 31 years. And last year I got in 3 meets as a master's athlete, and really had to reinvent myself and learn a new event. And that's the 100 meters. I'd never come out of the blocks before. And so I made that my event because it was the easiest way to re-enter the sport. However, I did recently purchase a pole, first time ever having my own custom fitted pole. And so I've already cleared a 12-foot bar, but I have not jumped yet in a master's meet. So that's kind of my story.
That's awesome, man. I mean, awesome. Like to be out 31 years and then to just have that passion and drive to want to come back. That's really cool.
Yeah. Thank you. From April of 2019 to December of 2021, I was walking every day. I walked 2,500 miles during that time.
Wow.
And I did 75 miles of sprints, and I probably did about 95,000 push-ups. And so I had like a base, and I'm like, man, I want to compete.
Was that something?
So it's not like I just did nothing and just stepped out. And I was telling Alex, man, there's some really good athletes in masters track and field.
Absolutely.
So was that something where like the pandemic gave you the time to kind of get back into shape and do all these types of things? And it's like, man, I can actually still go out and compete at a high level and do these types of things.
I was already doing that stuff before the scamdemic. And it just, I just didn't stop. I was just already out there doing it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And, it's funny. You mentioned, track and field's like a no-cut sport. And you're not the first person to mention that it was no cut. But I think we all know you don't have to cut. If track and field, people cut themselves a lot of times because they don't realize how hard the work it is to go in. They just think, oh, it's just running. It's just this and that. Then all of a sudden you have a decent coach and it's like, oh, okay, I don't want to go do this. I'm going to go do another sport or just go do nothing. So I find it funny you mentioned, that it was a no-cut sport because, man, we cut ourselves. The people that can't hang usually end up not staying around.
That's absolutely, man. And that's how I made the relay team in college, my senior year, the A team. And, maybe there are a guy or two who quits or gets kicked out of school or doesn't make the grades or just doesn't come back. And then, man, I'm up front all the time in practice because I'm really just hustling and working hard, and the coach put me in there. So,
yeah,
yes.
It's all about hard work. So I want you to go down memory lane because you said, you ran a lot when you were young. You came back. What are some of your favorite memories as a track athlete going through junior high, going through high school, college, and all those types of things? And now, even working hard in some of your accomplishments, just competing in the few meets and kind of what you're looking forward to.
Sure. So junior high, here's something that comes to mind. We had 7th grade. It was the day before the county meet, and we had two pits, high jump pits. One was like a competition pit where we had a nice soft mat and a fiberglass rounded crossbar. Yep. And the other pit was a hard mat and a metal triangular crossbar. Ouch. Well, that's where the junior high boys had to practice, and girls. And so anyway, I went up to do a jump, and my hip kind of hit the metal triangle crossbar on the way up, and it put it already on the mat. And I landed on that thing on the mat, and it cut my back open, and there was white meat hanging out of my back. Ooh. But I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want to have to go get stitches and then not be able to compete the next day in the meet. So I kept my mouth shut, iced it, like whatever, just did whatever I could, home remedy. And then the next day was the county meet, and I jumped my highest ever because I didn't want to hit that crossbar.
Right?
So yeah, that's like a junior high story. High school, you know, I don't know. We just had a really good track athlete. When I was a junior, he was a senior, David Dillon. We won the conference, and I think it's only the fourth time our school had won the conference in our coach's 40-year history. So that's kind of cool that like we were part of that, 1986. And then college, my best memory is Wabash Relays, which is an old historical track meet in Indiana. They don't have it anymore, but they had it for 50 years. Man, on that relay, going down the backstretch, stride for stride with this dude named Robert Leaks, who was from Vincennes, and he was a 25-foot long jumper and a 10.600 meter. And not saying that I ran a 10.600, but that day I was stride for stride with that dude. And so, and then we just had a lot of success in college. We were 31-1 my senior year in dual and triangular meets. We won what they call Little State Championship, and our coach was really about winning the meet as a team. So, and we had some All-Americans. My teammate and roommate the year before was All-American triple jumper. He's the one that taught me how to triple jump. His name's Eric Davis. And then I had another really good teammate who was a good pole vaulter, Brian Bohr. And we actually have a record at the Wabash Relays that still stands in the triple jump. But anyway, had some really good teammates also in the weight events. Our coach was a Hall of Fame coach, Jerry England, and he produced a lot of All-Americans over the years. So it was just really cool to be a part of that. Those are some memories.
That sounds awesome. Now, I had one of our former Manchester coaches on a little while ago, Coach Conover, and he has a gymnastics background, and he really specialized in the jumps. That was his big thing when he was coaching track and field over at my alma mater. Did you ever do anything extracurricular, like outside the box, to help you learn like high jump and things like that? Because one of the things he used to do was he used to have all of his high jumpers. They would have to go and at first, dunk a tennis ball, then do it backwards, and then, just start going to land backwards to teach them the high jump motion. Was there anything that you guys kind of did out of the box when you were learning at a high jump and do certain different jumps that maybe today could be brought into this like technical world that we live in?
Not in practice, but I was a freak in the house. I jumped and got in trouble for jumping in the house and touching the doorway or putting my palm on the ceiling or whatever all the time. And then, I got my first dunk when I was 5'9" as a junior at Purdue basketball camp. I was a camp counselor. So got excited. We got to play on the court at Mackey Arena at night, jumped out of my high tops. But I was obsessed with jumping as a kid, and always kind of the progression was like, I want to touch the net. I want to touch the backboard. I want to be able to grab the brace of the rim. I want to be able to grab the rim. I want to be able to get my hand over it. I want to be able to dunk it. So it was just won a slam dunk contest in college. Really, that was kind of it. But I'll tell you what, in college, man, I really only practiced 3 events. I was in 5 events every meet, but I just didn't choose maybe to have time to practice all of them. I practiced triple jump, which was my best event. It became my best event, even though we didn't have it in Indiana in high school. I practiced pole vault. I never had a coach for either of those 2 events, very technical events. And I practiced the 4x100 relay. Man, I had awesome handoffs, receiving the stick and, giving the baton. Had great handoffs. And so that's how I got on that relay team. But I really only long jumped and high jumped when they called my name.
That's
and we had a good high jumper at my college, Tom No. He went 7'3". He was from Northern Kentucky, broke school record. Yeah. And so I probably could have learned a lot from him. And we used to dunk the ball all the time and stuff, just like playing ball. But yeah, that's my answer.
So you mentioned before, maybe to me only, but Indiana doesn't have the triple jump, right? And they still don't. Now that makes me think, because me and Dave are from New Jersey.
We didn't get it till about maybe 10, 15 years ago.
We didn't get it. I think that was mostly because Carl Lewis kind of pushed that.
Well, when I was in high school in the mid-90s, we did not have triple jump at all.
We did. Now that was late 2000s going into the late 2000s going into kind of 2010s. And also one of the things that New Jersey doesn't have, we still don't have a steeple, and we don't have a hammer throw. Now, I don't understand how it maybe isn't difficult because you're already long jumping, and then kind of a transition into learning the hop, skip, and everything like that. It helped, but I just don't comprehend why some states don't have that.
They think it's dangerous. They think that young athletes are not developed enough and that they can sustain injuries from it. And, I honestly don't know if that's true or not. I actually coached last year for the first time ever. I was a volunteer youth track coach for one of the top youth track clubs in the state of Texas, Tyler Metro Track, and worked with a lot of first-time jumpers. Seventh graders, we actually sent two of them down to the state meet, the Summer Games at Texas. We sent 16 jumpers overall. 9 of them went down there and had personal bests, but they didn't seem to have any injuries or challenges with it. But again, I never started triple jumping until I was 20. I never even started long jumping until I was 20. There were other athletes in my high school that long jumped, and I really just did high jump and pole vault and maybe 200 meters or something, but I really don't have like a strong opinion to say, man, they should have it. I just know they don't have it.
No, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. And I guess it's kind of to each their own in that situation, right? Whatever they want to do. Like, I can almost understand the hammer because it has the line and people can get really hurt. Everything else, I'm kind of like, go out and teach it the right way. But I want to jump into our next topic here. You started something, trackstar.me. What is it? What can people expect when they go there? What is this? What is it?
So trackstar.me.
Yep.
It's a track and field video network. So track and field has the same problems it had 30 years ago when I was in it as a student athlete. Poor coverage, poor marketing, and it's fragmented. So trackstar.me, athletes can create their track and field profile with their events, their social media handles, and videos so they can get discovered for, scholarships, recruiting, maybe NIL, sponsorship. Even coaches can create their own track and field profiles with their events, their social media handles, and their videos, and they can get discovered for, recruiting, for private coaching, and jobs. So it's very early. We just launched the beta version of it. We're adding features right now as we speak, and we've got some really cool stuff that's coming down the line.
So how are you going to find that this may compete? Because right now it's really popular on Twitter to have athletes put themselves up on Twitter, put a lot of their videos up on Twitter, talk about every meet, and they're creating like specific athlete profiles where they only talk about themselves. I see it all the time on our, Talking Nobles Twitter, where they'll be like, recruitment open, and they'll announce their commitments there, or they'll decommit. Are you trying to make an alternative to be having individuals be able to do that?
Well, we have some unique features that Twitter doesn't have. So we have custom feeds where you can set your feeds by event, by level, by state. So if you just want to see high school pole vaulters in California or Texas or Indiana, then that's what you can see in your feeds. We also have an advanced search tool to find any track and field profile, coach or athlete, and any track and field video. And I can tell you firsthand, like YouTube, for example, most track and field fans consume track and field news and videos on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And so it is very hard to find track and field videos on YouTube. And I'll give you a perfect example. I was at the Texas Relays this spring covering the decathlon, which is an awesome 2-day event. 10 events over 2 days. It gets no coverage, and amazing athletes, big guys. And so anyway, I posted a story on YouTube under Trackstar, and I knew the headline, I knew the description, the keywords, everything. I still couldn't even find my own video. The reason why is YouTube is algorithm driven. They give you what they want you to see, not necessarily what you're looking for. So track and field needs its own video network. I mean, come on, man. It's the most popular Olympic sport, but it seems to disappear when the Olympics go away. And that's been going on for years. Even when I was a student athlete back in the day, it still has the same problem. So yeah, it needs its own network.
I love that. I love that. Now, is there any way, are you looking to potentially allow people to go live on this app? Because I feel like that could be something awesome where, because me and Dave talk about how we complain all the time about the coverage of track and field meets. Like Peacock, you can only really, the worldview is the only watchable thing. If it's on MSC, it's awful. But would there be any ability that you would be able to like go live on trackstar.me and kind of, we had on Dave Alfano, Trials and Miles. He put on a great meet 2 weeks ago where he was handing out $8,000 to the 800-meter champion, both men's and women. Would there be something where you'd be willing to work with some of these directors and meet coordinators where, here's the meet, watch it live on trackstar.me, here's the link, and it could be a place where we can go to and watch these events as they go on?
Right now, today, we're video on demand. Okay. So it's near real time, but not to say that we couldn't go live. And if we had the right partners or, something like that, definitely that's something that we would be interested to do for sure. And I think that's a cool idea, actually, what you just mentioned.
Yeah, and I would love for there to be a nice tab for track and field specific podcasts because, hey, we would jump on there in a heartbeat. Go, it can only help, and then have athletes come on our show, have coaches and people like yourself, because our whole goal here is exactly what you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
We want to expand the reach of track and field. We want to make the popularity. I think all three of us have a passion for track and field, and we think, we had Clayton Murphy on, arguably the best 800-meter runner in the country right now, and he's not a millionaire. The guy's an Olympic bronze medalist.
Right.
He's one of the best pros in the world. And why aren't our best track and field pros living comfortable lives where they aren't, training their faces off to just live paycheck to paycheck? There should be a place. And I think that I really like your idea. So what is your vision for Trackstar ME? How do you think that this is going to, you talked about video on demand. I agree with you. What is the ultimate vision for this? How is this going to help us, grow the sport and make us even bigger here?
Really, because the sport has poor coverage and poor marketing, it really empowers the athletes, the coaches, the parents, and the fans to take this into their own hands, so to speak. Everyone's got a phone and video recording capabilities. And so this is an easy way to, chronicle meets and training, post-meet commentary, interviews, shows, as you mentioned, lifestyle videos. A lot of people are creators now, and a lot of people are just, yuck, mainstream media, enemy of the people. You know what I mean? So it's like independent media. I've been an independent media enthusiast since 2007. Had a company previously called Fan Media Network. We invented remote. We invented iPhone video journalism for sports news coverage. And so this isn't new to me. And I'm really a big, believer in independent media. So let's empower the athletes, the coaches, the parents, the fans, all 50 states, all levels, youth, high school, college, elite, masters. That's really the vision. It's really to create economic opportunities for track and field athletes and coaches.
So, with Trackstar, what is your main membership? Is it usually like masters? Is it high school athletes? Is it pros? Is it people in college, or is it just kind of like a mix of everybody? And is there a service fee to kind of get involved, or is it all free to the athlete, or like just kind of?
It's free.
Okay.
It's free, and we just launched our beta version 1.0. And so we've really just invited a few athletes and a few coaches and a few fans in to be the first users to kind of test and make sure everything works, or give us some suggestions, things like that. But we are developing features that we're getting ready to release probably this week or next week, called Trackstar News, Trackstar Ad, a share tool, an embed feature where we can take a video from a track and field athlete who maybe is a creator on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, but they're not yet in our network. And we can embed that into Trackstar News. And then we have a partnership with Apple News, which more people get their news on their iPhones through Apple News than any news source. Over 100 million users. Twitter has 40 million users in the US, so it's more than twice the size of Twitter. just to show you the scale. But we can give a track athlete, an audience and expand their audience that they're not getting yet themselves. So eventually someday they may come into our network and create their track and field profile. But to begin, it's free. Not to say down the road that we wouldn't have like a lifetime membership. I don't know, maybe $5 or something that could unlock some other services like a marketplace. I see us having like an influencer marketplace where when I say create economic opportunities for athletes and coaches, that's kind of what I see. But today it's free, and it's really like an index or a glossary. I'd like to see as many track and field athletes that build their track and field profile with their events, their social media handles, and their videos on trackstar.me. And then, we just together, we grow it from there.
That'll be great.
That's kind of.
I like this, man. This is such a unique idea. And man, there's so much room for expansion with this. Like, this thing could be huge. And I just think it's wonderful that you have this and that hopefully many, many athletes take advantage of this platform.
Now,
thank you. Yeah.
Is there a way, if you're a creator like Eric Sawinski, the greatest pacer on the planet right now, is there a way for him to go on there and possibly monetize his content already? Or is that something that is in the works? Because, he can sit there and put on, he's, in his 30s and he's still trying to hang on, but he's the best like pacer on the planet. Here's how I do it. If you want to know more about my workouts, subscribe to me. Pay me $3 a month. And, is there a way to do that yet? Or is that something that's coming potentially?
Not yet, but That's definitely what we want to get to. Ultimately, the vision is to create economic opportunities for athletes and coaches.
Love that. I love that so much.
That is music to my ears. That's what we try to do every week, is get these athletes paid and just get them something for all the hard work and dedication that they put into the sport.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk about what you had mentioned, Alex and Dave, about there was an 800-meter athlete that you were talking about that they don't live this glamorous life. I know of an Olympic pole vault athlete. He has to petition USA Track and Field to get reimbursed for his travel expenses and his health care coverage and equipment. And many people assume professional or elite or Olympic athletes are making money and live an awesome lifestyle. And man, the track and field sponsorship is, I'm not necessarily talking about USA Track and Field. They're great at putting on track meets and all that kind of stuff. But I'm talking about like just individual athletes who have to fend for themselves or maybe have an agent or something. It's like the mentality is horrible. And they need to take some lessons from sponsorship sales executives who sell for like other leagues, like other teams. Like, I worked for the San Francisco 49ers and the San Jose Sharks and Indiana Pacers. And I can tell you that the sponsorship sales execs with those teams are relentless, man. And they are good at getting sponsorship deals. And it's just, that's missing from track and field. It's like only a thin slice of the athletes make any kind of money on sponsorships or endorsements. And it's unacceptable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we talked to athletes like an Eric Sawinski who mentioned, like, why can't we have sponsorships on the back of our jersey? Like, why does it have to be just clean? Like, have as many people sponsor you as you can. Like, why is it's limited?
It's not necessarily that. They get to have 3, which I think is a fair number. But like, I'm talking about the salespeople who represent them need to be resilient, relentless and just be better at getting sponsorships. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a college pole vaulter I know who's going to be a pro. He's good. He's really, really good. And maybe one of the agents out there said some stupid questions like, can he beat Mondo Duplantis? Meaning like, if he can't, then he can't get him a sponsorship. It's like, man, that mentality is not a winning mentality. That's what I'm talking about.
And, and I agree with you there. And I think, you mentioned USATF. The more Dave and I have heard, I think the more we have a problem with, because one of our major issues, I think, with track and field is that our national body is running our meets. There isn't a promotion. It's like the UFC promotes their fighters that are under contract. The WBA boxing, Top Rank, will promote their people. We're a bunch of self-contracted nomads that have, maybe a big sponsorship from Nike, but we have to go to the Nike meet, and we have to make sure that we qualify under world ranking or USATF ranking to even be allowed at this meet, where that's a ridiculous standard. You could have some great runners that, maybe are just a rank underneath. So now they can't go to this Diamond League meet or this gold meet or this platinum meet. And it really limits how much the runners can go to. So I love what you're saying about the salespeople hammering it down.
Yeah,
but the
absolutely.
opportunities for these athletes to get noticed at these larger meets are limited by the structure, which is what, Dave and I have heard over and over and over from these pro athletes, that the structure where they, have to beg to possibly get in some meets. And, Clayton Murphy, again, best 800 meter runner in the country, is a possibility for not getting into a Diamond League meet. How is the best 800 meter in the United States, a 142 800 meter runner, not in any meet that he wants to be in? Like, there's a problem here. And I think it's a mix of what you have to say, where the salespeople aren't pushing. And I don't know if Clayton Murphy, if a track and field athlete, if you're not Sidney McLaughlin, if you're not Armando Duplantis, if you're not a Ryan Krauser, can't afford to have somebody really out there representing themselves like that 24/7. So the model is definitely broken, but I love what you're doing with trackstar.me, because I think that could attract salespeople to them. If you can make a video showing your personality, doing your practices. And, I love that it's free, because one of my problems, I love FlowTrack. It's behind the paywall. How many people are going to go beyond that paywall? There's very few in terms of the number of fans out there. So, I didn't want to go on a full diatribe there, but
no,
but it's
great point.
I'm going to tell you, the only reason why that model can exist, that subscription model, is because, think about this, the only level of track and field where it gets coverage, where you can easily find meet results and stuff like that, is elite.
Yeah.
You cannot for youth, high school, college, masters. No one really cares about masters unless if it's a well-known athlete or if records are being broken. But youth, high school, college, that's really our sweet spot for trackstar.me. The reason why those subscription models can work, they get away with it because there's no coverage. You understand? So, but I don't think that's right. If you're an athlete and you get up at 7 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and you go to the meet and you run 100 meters or 800 meters or pole vault or whatever, you should not have to pay to see your meet results or any of that kind of stuff. It's just, I don't like that.
I agree. Because, it used to be you paid 50 cents to your paper to go and see your results on paper if you were in high school or something. And 50 cents was a good number to pay, right? Because you even got some good dual meet results. Your coaches are calling the dual meet results, and you saw your dual meets and they were hand timed and you knew they were crap. You just wanted to see that you won, right? Well, you were a jumper, so at least yours was a little more accurate. We were runners and distance runners, so we would be like, maybe that teacher stopped it at the right time. But at least you got that. But, I agree with you that it's tough. And there are still some good, timing companies out there that do give good live results and do that. But the video coverage, like you said, is scant. Unless a team is running at the Armory, like you could see Armory races, because Armory Track is pretty good about putting their major races out there. Not all of them, the major races out there, and they're generally free. But a FlowTrack behind the paywall, some mile split stuff behind the paywall. And Peacock behind a shitty paywall. So, this all comes back to the system. You like dual meets and tri meets. Talk about what you think the importance of dual meets and tri meets are for track and field.
Sure. I think youth and high school need more. They need to bring back dual meets and triangular meets. The main reasons why is because more athletes get to compete. They have all these invitationals now, and they've watered down all these awesome relays. Back in the day, man, relays were special. I'm talking like Kansas relays or Wabash relays, or those are some college meets, but even high school, we had Kokomo relays. We had some other kind of meets, Marion relays, but they were Oak Hill relays, but they were special. You didn't have them every weekend. And now when I look at high school and youth track, it's like every meet is an invitational, and they take like 10 or 11 hours all day to run. So like a dual meet, a triangular meet, man, that thing's over in a few hours, a couple hours, and many athletes get to compete. And that's the bottom line. Many more athletes get to compete when it's a dual meet or a triangular meet. Plus you got rivalries and things like that. And that needs to be brought back for youth and high school track.
Yes. I see both sides of that. Like I think for your elite high school athlete, it's hard to have them run on a Wednesday and then run again in an invitational on Saturday. But for the overall general athlete, I do agree with that. But I think it's harder when you start getting into your top level guys who are competing for state champs and national titles. Like I definitely think it's different for every individual athlete and what the team's goal is for that season.
See,
yeah. I mean, maybe I say that because I didn't, like I told you guys, I didn't get good at track until I was 20. So, but I hear what you're saying. I just don't think every weekend should be a big invitational. I just think this week it's going to be the dual meet or triangular meet. We're not going to an invitational. But if there's an exceptional athlete, you want to get that athlete where the best competition is. I agree with that, Dave.
You see, I lean a little more with Kirk. I think colleges should bring back dual meets. I'm not going to lie, because I think that rivalry is fun. I think that being able to go out and beat every single team or beat most teams. And some of my funnest meets was the final dual meet of the year where that high jump was deciding if you're going to win your division and you're up against a team that is deciding that division. And I just always thought that was fun. Now, again, I get it. But Dave, I think that kind of goes to the, are we running for times type of thing? Because a lot of the invites now for athletes, let's get to the best invite and get a great time. Not necessarily the competition of it.
It's all time trials now. Like everything's about running fast. We kind of lost a sense of competition and 100%. Racing. Like you don't I love this week in Jersey how kids ran 3 races and they didn't care about time. It was about place and getting your team points rather than I have to run fast every single race, which we talked about with other pro athletes. Like everything has become like it's not about winning the race, it's about how fast that you won. So we're definitely losing a sense of competition and racing. It's all based on time, because that's what every sponsor is looking for. And I miss the time where like I don't care if it's slow, like let's go out and race and see who wins and who gets second. But now it's all time.
And to Kirk's point, the relays were lots of fun. And that was all competition. That was all. And now it's even people are picking their spots at relays. Where can I get a fast DMR? Where can I get a fast 4x8? And it's kind of ridiculous. And my thing with dual meets is, I don't know about anybody else. I didn't try very hard in dual meets unless, it was a high level team. And then you picked your spots. You weren't trying to go out and compete like an invite against another kid that you're pretty evenly matched in a 2-mile.
No, it was all about winning. It was about getting team points.
So how much damage are you really doing to the athlete? Because I was a 430 miler when I was young. How much damage am I really doing going out and winning my race in a 445, then coming back in the 32 and running a 1045 to win that? I'm still fresh. That's a workout. So I think the entire dual meets really do damage to me. It's if you treat it that way, sure. And there were times where I was like, all right, throw that hammer down. You got to win this race. Like there's some good kid in here. You got to get it. And that brings back to what you said, Dave, the competition. Are you an athlete at that point? Are you going to go give it your all and, do what you need to do to win that race for your team? So I don't know. For me, I like the dual meet. I like the tri meet. I always have. And I think it's kind of, we're putting extra mileage on the legs. To me, some of these workouts these kids do are harder than the dual meets and tri meets. So that's my perspective on it. Maybe the tries get a little more competitive, the extra athletes added, but definitely dual meets to me were always just, I don't know, extended workouts. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah.
Kirk, anything else? Go for it, Dave.
So Kirk, next thing I want to talk to you about is Masters track and field. You mentioned it's probably kind of lost upon most people. It's kind of like, like out of sight, out of mind. But so what is it like when you go to these meets and you have all these amazing athletes? And what is the Masters age? Is it over 50? Is that what
Masters used to be 35 and over.
Wow.
Now they've lowered it to 25 and over, which I think is great.
Oh,
Hey, I'm
But
a
I want to
master.
say something real quick.
I'm a master.
Yes.
Yeah, you're okay.
I'm a master.
I want to
I
say
didn't
something
realize
real
that. Holy cow. Wow.
It's not only it's not just the out of sight, out of mind thing. It's my brother, 2 years older than me, he was a college football player. He walked on. We went to the same school. He was a good athlete, good baseball player, good in football. And he kind of laughed at me when I told him I was doing master's track, kind of like, he's like, oh, like you already did it. Kind of like, he didn't say that, but he's kind of thinking like, why are you doing it now? Or it's not that relevant or important or whatever. I'm like, man, if he came out there and saw some of those athletes, man, there are some bad older dudes out there that still got it going on. I guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's kind of the mentality of it too, that people maybe look down on it. The only people I think that can look down on masters are like elite or professional or Olympic athletes or really, really good college athletes who maybe they did so good that they just couldn't get themselves to do that like later in their life because they already achieved the pinnacle. And I respect that. But man, anyone else, trust me, man, masters, people are not playing around out there.
No, I mean it's funny, like people love like masters golf and other sports. So like
Even tennis.
Like why would anybody just like care or look down upon someone who's still trying to better themselves at any age? Like, I think it's fantastic. And I've seen some guys, like there's this guy here, his name was Harry Nolan, and he broke 5 minutes in the mile until he was like 65 years old. Like, the guy was a machine. It was amazing, and it was just so fun.
We had Tom Resch.
Watch.
Tom Resch was breaking 20 in the 5K at 60 years old.
I know.
And he ran for Shore AC, which is a well-represented a lot of the Eastern Masters races.
Yeah. There was a dude I met last year at a meet in Houston. His name's Bill Collins. You can look him up. He's probably like 72 now, but he's on YouTube of maybe when he was like 66 or something, running like a 12 point something at the pin relays in 100 meters. I mean, just left everybody. And this dude had like big thighs, and I saw him on the Wall of Fame at TCU. I was at a meet there. I was like, wow. He told me, I was like, yeah, man. I said, I saw a cool video of you on YouTube winning the pin relays when you're 66. He said, man, I've won the pin relays 42 times. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, but like, hey, at pin relays, because, that's a local to us, everyone cheers and loves the Masters 100. You have guys in there who are 97, 95 years old, and they're out there just sprinting down that track. I mean, slow or fast, it doesn't matter. Anybody who wants to better themselves at any age, I'm all for it. Yeah. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. And I kind of had that mentality with basketball. See, I played basketball, grew up in Indiana, but like I stopped playing basketball at 37, and basketball was my passion and, all that stuff. And so because I didn't want to be the older guy who was in the way, and I respected the game so much, there's an old saying, you don't leave the game, it leaves you. Like, I didn't want to be the slower player in the way. But like track and field it's just I have a different view of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you can even sprint I'm 54, if you can still sprint, man, props. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's not easy.
And I think track is a different sport because, I've always said it doesn't matter if you win the race or lose the race. If you gave it your all, the pain is the same. The lactic acid buildup is the same. Now, some of the elites can handle that lactic acid buildup better, so they feel it, but it's the same. And there's a respect level just for towing that line. The fact that you got on that line and started to move forward when that gun went off, there's just a respect level there. And I don't think, if there are people that look down on it, shame on them.
Yeah.
Those are the type of people we don't want in our sport. Like, they can leave. But for the most part, I think there's just a respect level that, listen, I don't know if I can run 100 and under 15 right now, and I'm like 34. So
I couldn't.
Okay, let me say two other things. There was a guy I talked to, and I think he has a website called mastersnews.org or something, and he told me something, and I don't really know this guy, but he said, I know athletes that say that Masters track has saved their life.
Awesome.
I'm like, wow, that's deep, man.
Absolutely.
That's cool. And so that's a good thing. And then there was a second thing I was going to mention, but because it went away, but I don't recall what I was going to say.
You know what though? Finding running, and I think this happens to a lot of people because we see it, right? Some people just get the bug and they start to run and they start to do things, and now they enter a 5K, and then here a 10K, and then they do the half, and now and it's just something about competing, right? It's pure competition. It is human competition at its base level. But am I faster than you? Am I faster than myself today than I was yesterday?
But
There's something cool about that.
I also feel that a lot of it isn't about competition against someone else. It's about competition against your own self. Like, can I beat this time? You know, can I run faster? So, you know, like it's not always about beating anyone else. It's about what can I do with what I have, and you know, like age shouldn't matter. Like that always stays with you throughout your whole life.
That's what I learned last year from being in 100 meters. I learned a lot of things, man. I learned how to set up my blocks, come out of the blocks. I learned there's a few phases to the race. I never knew that. I thought you just ran down there as quick as you could. But I learned that I had 2 hamstring incidents last year, and they were both because I got too tense at the start out of the blocks, and because I was sizing up the competition. Wanted to figure out how I could stay with them or not get shown up. And it took me off my focus, and it made my muscles real tense, and it caused me, I know that's why I had hamstring. But anyway, that's what I was also going to say is, Dave, you're right. It is about competing against yourself. And really, there's like these old sayings, my race, my space, you know what I mean? And really stay within yourself and what you can do at this time and execute your race strategy and things like that. And then, Alex, you talked about, can I get faster and stronger every day? And those are the things I think about and pray about when I go out to practice every day. And so another thing I wanted to mention is like, man, I really do it for the pure to be nervous again and excited about a sporting competition. Those are the reasons why I really do it, man. And I just love those natural feelings that I haven't felt in so long, being nervous and being excited. And then just, it kind of dominates my thoughts and stuff. And I just love it for that.
So for the average master track runner or jumper or thrower or hurdler, is it hard to get a coach, or like are there teams out there with coaches, or is it mostly just you doing it by yourself?
Right now, I'm my own coach and train myself. But last year, when I was a volunteer youth coach for Tyler Metro Track, a top youth track club in the state of Texas, we had really good coaches out there. And that's who I learned how to set up my blocks and come out of the blocks. And then thank God for YouTube. I watched some YouTube videos to watch some different athletes or coaches talk about, you know, the drive phase and, you know, acceleration and holding top speed as long as you can and controlled deceleration, things like that. So to kind of learn more about the race and the phases and the strategy and the execution.
I mean, you must be in great shape because, I mean, there's, you know, 12 foot in the pole vault for a high school kid is not easy. So for you'd be able to go 12 foot now, that's impressive. And like to do it with yourself as a coach and not have anyone, you know, break down your form or your plan.
That's hold on. That's another thing, man. I got to go and jump a few times with Stephen F. Austin pole vaulters, and they have a coach, Jeff Erickson. This is his last year. They've got an All-American pole vaulter, Branson Ellis. He was NCAA champion in 2021. He's probably going to win it this year, maybe going up against those guys from Princeton, and there's some other good jumpers, Texas Tech, Cal, and so forth. But I got to learn from those two guys a little bit. And unfortunately, I had an injury where I couldn't sprint for 5 months. But I still went down there to practice and observed it. They have an indoor facility a little bit south of where I live. And so that was really my first year of having a coach for the event and even seeing myself on video. Like, I never saw myself on video when I was a college athlete because we didn't have YouTube and people didn't have video recording capabilities. And the only time I ever saw another athlete was at a meet, and things just move too fast to where you can't remember technique or you got to go sign in for your other event or something. But yeah. And
anytime that you can see any video of those technical events, it's a game changer because you can see like my plant
high. Yes.
Yeah.
Plant high. Yes.
My left arm collapsed here, you know, like,
yes,
it's the video for that is
You sound like a pole vaulter.
I
You're supposed to
coached
keep that on.
some, yes. Yeah.
We've coached a little bit.
Sweet. All right, guys.
So coaching, I'm gonna jump into that real quick before we let you go because I'm having a great time here. But when it came down to coaching, you said you started youth coaching last year. What was that like? Because you were obviously an athlete in the 80s, and we like to talk about often how coaching has been different. What was that like for you now stepping into the coaching arena and kind of taking things that you remembered as an athlete and trying to bring it there? And did you come in a little different as a coach than you came out? Like, what was that like?
Okay. First of all, I always knew I'd be able to coach. I always knew I could coach, but like I'd been busy in my life pursuing like business stuff. But last year I had moved from Dallas. I'd lived in Dallas since 2009 to East Texas. Tyler, Texas is where I live today. And so I went out to this middle school track just to exercise me. Man, when I got out there, it was packed. I thought, oh, I can't exercise today. There's a track meet. Well, I talked to a couple parents coming out and they were like, no, it's just practice. This is Tyler Metro Track, Youth Track Club. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is huge. So I'm like, where's the coach? And they pointed to him. So I went over to the coach and I introduced myself, told him I did track in college. I said, if you need any volunteers, let me know. And he said, yeah, you can work with the jumpers. I mean, right on the spot. So I'm like, okay, now it's on. I'm committed. So what I really learned, I am good at coaching youth in high school. I'm not a good enough experienced coach to coach college or anything above that. But youth in high school, I can get jumpers going. And what I really learned, coaching is about serving athletes. And the best example I can give is during the track meets on a Saturday in Dallas or in East Texas, I'm raking the sand in the triple jump and long jump pit for about 7 hours in a hot Texas sun. And I also did that in practice because I wanted every athlete to have a fresh looking bed of sand that they could put their own imprints into it to motivate them and give them emotional ownership and stuff like that. Man, I'm telling you, I had a good suntan. I'm all worked out. That's hard stuff, raking that sand.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
that's for sure.
I'm like, coaching is about serving athletes.
Every coach has raked, or at least any good coach has raked or moved standards, pole vault, because I coach for a while. Like, you do that because you want what's best for your athletes. You're absolutely right.
And if you're the young coach on a staff, you're going to get your older coach going, go rake that pit, son. Got to earn your keep. I did it 30 years ago. Go rake that pit for everyone. And you know what you do as the young coach? Yes, coach. You just go do it.
It's like,
no one. Yes, that is true. No one had to tell me to do that, but
right.
I'll tell you what, man. We had athletes coming over to the pit every practice that I didn't know. They would just show up and say, "Can you teach me how to jump?" They saw what we were doing down there, and that was really, really cool. I had little kids come up and hold on my leg, like third graders, and just look up to me and say, "I'm proud of you." I'm like, oh, I'm proud of you too. It's just, I was like, man, awesome. This is cool. This is so cool.
It is cool.
That's lots of fun.
There's such an innocence with youth sports, and that kind of gets lost as the athletes go. Because like not many high school coaches would coach kids from other teams, and I don't think that they actually should. But when you're at that young age, it's you just want to make everyone better, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it's neat, man. And coaching makes all the difference in youth, high school, and college. And we had one coach in college. He drove the van, man. We had one coach. That was it. We had one. That was it. Now these teams got 6 or 7 coaches. Good for them. But like our coach drove the van. That was it.
I come from Marist. Marist currently has 3. When I was there, I made 4. I'm not there anymore. They're back to 3. Small Division I school, but man, records keep breaking. They do an amazing job there. So I love it.
Yeah. I was an intern for the Indiana Pacers in 1991, and our center was from Marist, the Duncan Dutchman, Rick Smith.
Rick Smith.
Dude, he had an old school, listen to this. He had an old school Cadillac from like maybe the mid 70s, a Fleetwood, one of those real long ones. He was so tall, he had the front seats taken out. He drove the car from the back seat.
He
was from Marist.
Yeah,
him
he was.
And
He's one of the greatest
Reggie Miller
ever.
was on a team, the Davis brothers.
I've only seen
that was before Dale Davis was on the team, and Reggie Miller, of course, Chuck Person, Vern Fleming, Rick Smits, Detlef Shrimp.
I've only seen Rick, I think, once in real life. He came to be an honorary, honorary head coach to do like something with Maris at the time. And he is every bit of like 7'3", whatever he is,
7'4".
7'4". He's every bit of 7'4". And I think he's shortchanging himself at 7'4". I'm not gonna lie. He might be large man.
He is large, yes.
He's a large man.
Looked cool driving a Cadillac from the back.
I'm sure.
I promise.
That's awesome. So Kirk, thank you so much for coming on. This was a fantastic show.
Yeah, Alex and Dave, thanks, man. It was really cool hanging out with you guys and talking track and field, man.
Listen, man, I hope trackstar.me gets big, because I think it's a wonderful concept, and I think it could really do wonderful things to help get the sport the exposure and get these athletes paid. And I just think it's wonderful. So if there's anything that you ever need from us, please let us know, because I think it's such a neat, fun, cool concept.
Thank you very much. I'm receiving that fully. It's early. Same thing. If you guys need anything, we will do our best to help.
So trackstar.me, when it launches, where can people find it? .me. So
it's launched. It's launched.
Where can people find it?
Yeah. Trackstar.me is the URL.
Okay.
I was on it earlier today, and it's neat. Like, you press the go button, and you can see just the different videos of all different athletes. Cool stuff.
Are we looking forward to an app soon?
Maybe. We had an app with our last Business Fan Media Network, and I'm telling you, the app stores are a pain in the butt. Like, if you want to fix something or add a feature, man, you have to submit it and it has to get approved. With the internet, you don't have to. You can fix something or add a feature. No one needs to approve anything. And honestly, people aren't quick to install apps. We only have so much space on our phone. Yeah. If someone hears about something, they'll do a quick search for it, find it, check out the web app experience, and there's no guarantee they're ever going to install an app from there. So kind of been through that already. So I don't know if we'll ever have an app, if that answers the question.
Makes sense. So trackstar.me, go on there. I'm going to go create a profile. I'm going to encourage everyone I know that runs. If you're a casual runner, a competitive runner, definitely go on there, create a profile, because I think this is something that we need in a sport. Another outlet for more people to get exposure, for us to see it, for us to go enjoy, cheer for each other, root for each other, and make sure this sport gets bigger. So awesome. Once again, Kirk Berridge, he's a USA Track and Field Masters athlete and founder of trackstar.me. Love this show. This was a great show. It's exactly what we're here to do stuff like this. So once again, we're talking in ovals. Like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth and go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. Go on there, and everybody, we will be back next week. So long, everyone.